Alright, I'm no expert on China, but I'll give my best take on it. The country is filled with propaganda. Any of the major cities, it's all anti-Western, anti-American in particular. So that's one aspect of it. Also, their military prowess is growing. Supposedly, they have undetectable nuclear submarines and intercontinental ballistic missiles that can sink our battle cruisers and aircraft carriers before they have time to react. Now, those are some significant advantages, and if they're capable of building them, and they have been practicing building them, then that means they have malicious intention. They may play the, oh, we're just trying to defend our country routine, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is they feel confined. They feel like their military agenda has not been completed because they've been contained to such a little area in the world. And China is a disgusting place. Like, it's filled with smog, poison, the ground is poisoned, the arable crops are disgusting. They have to resort to eating cats and dogs, which I don't approve of for obvious reasons because I'm a Western Canadian. But from a non personal opinion, is that it's an inferior meat. I couldn't imagine cat or dog tasting very good. It's probably really stringy and really fatty and disgusting. It certainly doesn't hold up to beef or chicken or fish, which we commonly eat here in the Western world. It's a step backwards, and it's a national embarrassment on their part that they have to resort to this. So they trick their population to actually enjoy eating it, and quite honestly torturing them as well, because they know it gets our goat. Because there's all kinds of stories how they boiled cats and dogs alive, and it's a really barbaric, disgusting practice. They also like to beat their animals and keep them confined in little cages before they're killed and slaughtered. I mean, in the West, it's not entirely different with chickens and even pigs, pork. They do the same thing, kind of, but not necessarily. It's not the same thing at all. They always like to compare us to them and say, oh, we're no different, but we're completely different. That's just a simpleton's answer to say, oh, well, eating meat altogether is bad, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm not against eating meat. Eating meat is perfectly normal, and if it's done correctly, there's nothing wrong with it. We certainly don't boil pigs alive and things like that. Or chickens or whatever. Anyway, aside from that, they're developing all kinds of new forms of poisonous chemicals. And as I said in a previous video, you can have a host victim with that particular disease or whatever come visit any country like Canada that opens its doors to these people, and it can lay dormant in them for 6 months and then become a huge outbreak. And none's the wiser to figure out who it came from, but it is possible to determine where these things came from, and if there would be the usual suspects, as I said in a previous video. And China is top on that list. They have the most to be miserable about their own country's success. I mean, their population has to eke out a living, has to work in factories and things like that, which a practice we've given up on because it's bad for the environment, and it's more profitable in East Asia, where you can get people to work for close to nothing and it doesn't matter, and so long as the right people get paid, It's almost as if nobody cares. Now, I'm not a third worldist. I don't particularly care for the Asians' plight. Doesn't bother me one bit that they have to work so hard and for our convenience. Like my camera, made in China, I guarantee you the people who made it aren't making decent money. But I do wish that the people who are benefiting, the capitalist class in China, does suffer. And I'm glad that the market has gone on a downturn for China. I just don't trust that country one little bit. They're sneaky, they're crafty, they lie, they cheat, and they do every underhanded trick they can think of. And they're backstabbers. So they can't be trusted. And it's foolish for people to be Sinophiles. It's just idiotic. Like, I could never get into that culture. It's not my thing. I like European culture. It's so much more diverse and interesting to me. I mean, as far as Asian culture goes, like, I'll eat sushi. There was a point in my life where I wanted to eat sushi from Japan because I was interested in going to Japan. But because of Fukushima, I think I'll continue eating the fish that we get around here in sushi style. Until proven otherwise that it's safe. Not that I'm in a mad rush to go to Japan anyway. I mean, they don't like us just as much as the Chinese don't. But they happen to dislike the Chinese even more than they dislike us. So we happen to be friends with them right now. And we've armed them with intercontinental ballistic missiles pointed at China, of course, along with Taiwan and South Korea. North Korea, we don't get along with them, but they're not really a significant threat. We talk about them in the media, but like I said, they're not a significant threat. They're just the poor cousin of China, and China's a poor country altogether. And Vietnam's not much better off, and neither is Cambodia or Laos or any of those countries. It was only some 800 years ago when Genghis Khan threatened to conquer the whole world. And it's like, in history, that's a blink of an eye. But people seem to forget that little fact. And that sense of conquering has never left the Asian spirit. I mean, sure, their army's not really doing much right now, especially as the American army is in the Middle East and is actively pursuing things. But that's because they're allowed to. The Chinese army is not allowed to leave China. Because America has stopped them from doing that. Has prevented them from being able to expand on their military interests. Now, of course, they're in Africa, but supposedly it's a non-military thing. But you guarantee that they brought a nuclear weapon with them or a biological weapon with them. And they're prepared to use it if we try to force them out of China out of Africa. Because they stand to make too much money out of Africa. And they may go under there under the guise that they're there to help, but they're not. They're really not. It is a bothersome fact. It's like a dragon we got cooped up in its cave, and it wants to come out and conquer the world, but we have to keep it there and keep a close eye on it because it can't be trusted forever. Because if we just went in there and destroyed it, a few cockroaches would escape with nuclear weapons and things like that, and they would most surely use them. So it is quite the spooky predicament. I will make a part 2 on this for sure at some point. But for now, this is all I got. Anyway, see ya.